Hello, grade 12s, and welcome to another podcast or screencast in this series that will help you understand your political ideology. And to do this, we are going to use the politicalcompass.org website, which is a fabulous organization that is dedicated to helping people understand their political ideology. Now, in a previous learning, we learned about left-wing and right-wing, and that is somewhat helpful, although it is mostly a comparative tool, and it doesn't really help us understand our own political ideology. So the Political Compass has set up a situation where they are going to ask you a battery of questions, and they will then provide an analysis about where you fit on the political compass. And then it will allow you to compare yourselves to other people in political parties who have answered those questions as well. So the first thing we're going to do is take the test. You'll find this Take the Test button in the top left-hand corner. Choose your language of preference. And then it will take you to some test questions. Now, on these test questions, you'll see there's page 1 of 6. So there are a number of different types of questions. The first ones start with how you see your country and the world, so basically foreign affairs. And so you read the question or the stem or the statement, and then you have to pick which one of these is most accurately coincides with your statement. Now, you may not fully strongly agree or disagree, and there may be somewhere in the middle, but pick the one that is closest to your view. After you've answered all the questions, you will then be given a printout or a screen of an analysis. And the analysis will put you on somewhere on this political compass, and it will put you either in quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, or quadrant 4. Now, those who are in the authoritarian left are generally people who believe in state-imposed collectivism, where the good of the many outweighs the good of the individual. The authoritarian right is where we have very strong state control, but having the emphasis on the individual. On the bottom left, in quadrant 3, we have voluntary collectivism, where people believe that the state shouldn't force you into these collectives, that people basically should do this on their own accord, and there's a lot more personal freedoms because they're lower on the social scale. And then quadrant 4 is the libertarian right, where you believe that there should be very little government interference, but it's also very much based on individualism. And so you'll be placed somewhere, based on the answers to your questions, somewhere on this compass. And then, after you are placed there, you can look and see, okay, so here are some historical examples that most people are familiar with. So had Hitler taken the political compass test, he probably would have been placed there, whereas Mahatma Gandhi placed there. And so it allows you to make some preliminary comparison. Then you can scroll down on the left-hand side and you can find different situations in Canadian politics, and it gives the major parties in Canada, and what it does is it places them on the political spectrum. And Political Compass has done this by looking at their policies and their decisions and answering those questions based on what they've done historically, and places them on here. So this is the 2008 election. Then you can also see the 2011 election results, where those parties would have fit based on their platform of that 2011 election. And then our most recent Canadian federal election, where the federal government, each of these federal parties were placed on the compass based on their policies and promises. Now, what I've done is then on the next slide, I'm going to show you kind of a GIF, which will allow you to compare. And what I want you to look for is trends in the political parties from 2008 to 2015. And what you'll see is that there's a general trend of most of these parties moving up and to the right. Not all the time, but generally if you look at the Conservative Party, they are moving up and to the right. They are becoming more authoritarian and more individualistic. The Liberal Party, with the exception of under Justin Trudeau, has moved up to the right and then made a veer to the left in 2015. Even the Green Party has moved, from more from right to left, bucking that trend a little bit. The Bloc Québécois, fairly unchanged, as is the New Democratic Party, although even they are making that bottom left to top right movement. But they still end up primarily in the quadrant 3, or in the bottom left. After you've answered all those questions, the compass will place you somewhere on this graph where you are, and what you should do is you should make note of that. You should take a picture or write a drawing, because that's going to be important. And then what I want you to do is to compare yourself. Which political party from Canada would you say you are most closely aligned with? So if you find yourself up here, perhaps that you would be most likely to be aligned with the Conservatives, and so on. What you're going to do then is, if you are most closely aligned with that political party, the next step is then to do some research. So what you're going to do is I've provided you with links for the political parties and their handbooks, and so you need to go to there and you need to read up on the political party platform. As you're doing this, you should be taking notes on the important policies, and there's a link to a Google Doc that you will then copy and share with your group mates and with your teacher, so that I can provide you with some feedback on how good your notes are, and then all of your group mates will be able to see what you collectively have for information. And then the fun part begins, because now it's time to play, and we're going to play, you and your group mates are going to play a simulation political game called Democracy 3, and you are going to play it using, and your decisions should reflect the political ideology of the party which you have just researched. And so this is the most important part of the learning, because now you get to apply what you have learned.